Hi, this is Judy Trusz, and I am doing Module 8 self-assessment of the online endorsement competencies using the national standards for quality online teaching. At the end, I'm going to share some work that I've done before and what I am planning to do in the future. So let's get started with the first section, design and development. I really think the coding unit that I created for this particular class was probably the most helpful part or thing that I did that fits into that standard. I had not actually completed an entire course before. I've kind of built one while I was working with students, but I felt like the direction we had for this unit was great to understand that. Also, in a previous class, 635, I had to dig into my understanding of blended learning and teaching. And I made this slide deck, which I had to focus on things that I found easy and things that I found challenging about my understanding of blended learning teaching. And I do have some experience with this. When I worked at STOL as an algebra teacher, I piloted a 3-station rotation program. But the most difficult thing or challenging thing was the third station that was group work that could be done without any teacher supervision. So I think that still rings true for me. B was different technologies. I have been a technology integrator for 5 years, so I am familiar with many different technologies, which you'll see when I get to the last section. But the one that I created for Millersville coursework was having a Jamboard, explaining how to use a Jamboard. So I had to do that in one of my classes, and I think that is the tool that I used the most. When I took a class over the summer, ACTE 630, I learned a lot about making sure that you used accommodations for all of your online coursework. I was not aware of this alt text, so I really had to do a lot to adjust this original document that I had for my math classes as a reference when we're doing multi-step equations, and change a lot of the pictures to alt text. If not, I had to go in and actually create them myself. So that was definitely eye-opening. In delivery, I think the coding unit definitely this semester has really made me understand everything that goes into that. And the part about clear expectations, I feel like I really did that. Let me show you my expectations here in my class. My Google Classroom, each day I would have a learning target. They'd have to go into the material to see the learning target. But there was a kid-friendly language for the learning target, and then step-by-step exactly what needed to be done each day. So I feel like I really did make clear expectations. Now, since I haven't used it with kids, I don't know that I am as comfortable with responses and giving regular feedback, but I did incorporate several check-ins into my coding course, and I will continue to do that. The next section is again about the diversity of students and their needs. This is something that we looked at different accessibility Well, that's the social presence model. Here it is. The online accessibility handbook. I felt like that was very useful, but not just that, also differentiation and allowing choice and options and allowing students to move at their own pace, which I do allow in the course that I created. When you look at assessment, I did take a class on assessment prior to this, earlier this fall, and I had to create an assessment and then a rubric to go with it. So this is the assessment that I created. I used Jamboard. I had to use a technology, and I've already mentioned how I enjoy using Jamboard. So my students had to do something that was very real world. So they were learning about the coordinate plane, and I asked them to create their own gaming bedroom with Jamboard, and I gave them some step-by-step directions using this chart of everything I wanted in their room. Then I did a quick review of Jamboard, even though my students would know how to use this. Then they had the coordinate plane. I had an exemplar for the first step. And then I asked them to put in ordered pairs for each corner of each of the items. And I even explained what to do with these rounded corners. And after that, I had to create a rubric. And I felt like this class really helped me dig into understanding to only put the learning targets in the rubric. I know in the past I've made learning targets, or I've made rubrics and included just superficial things like grammar and neatness. So this was a great class to help me understand that. I then had to use an evaluation form to evaluate my own rubric, which helped me to identify things that I needed to fix. Oh, there's a typo. And then I also had to create a conversion table if I would have to grade it. So that was a very useful course. And then using data and assessments. I had a pre-assessment in my coding class that would help me design what my students would be doing in any of the days of the course. So I think that I have already started to use data. And then these ones, emerging trends and professional responsibilities. I think emerging trends we've touched on with different technologies, but professional responsibilities are not anything that I've really covered in my Millersville coursework. So instead, I reached back to when I created my ISTE certification portfolio that I was working on during the pandemic. And I'll just show you the alignment map that I had to create for that. And I handed this in 2 different times. The yellow was the first time and the blue was the second time I was handing it in. It's under a different name because I have recently changed my name. But some of the things that I worked on that relate to this last one. I'm trying to find where I had different things that I needed to make sure students understood. Yes, when I was helping teachers create or understand Google Classroom back during my Google boot camps in the summer of 2020. I did a lot with helping them to understand all their different professional responsibilities in the online classroom. And last but not least, what I'm going to do next, well, I've been asked by my department director at IU13 to take on a new responsibility, which is to oversee the summer camps that we offer at IU13 and to change some of them into virtual options and